Well, I think that there's no simple answer as to whether dinosaurs were warm-blooded or cold-blooded. They were such a very varied group of animal, and they encompass such a huge size range and different ways of life. But I think an important point to make is what we actually mean by cold-blooded. It doesn't actually mean that an animal had cold blood. All it means is that it used behavioural means to regulate its body temperature. Like a crocodile does, if it wants to warm up, it basks in the sunshine and opens its mouth so that the blood vessels inside the mouth lining can take up heat and heat the animal up. And alternatively, if they want to cool down, they go into water or go into shade. So cold-blooded animals actually regulate their body temperatures very precisely, but they do it by behavioural means. Whereas so-called warm-blooded animals actually do it physiologically. They actually burn food and turn food into heat and maintain their body temperature that way. So that's what we're really talking about. Did dinosaurs turn food into heat through what they ate, or did they regulate their body temperature by behavioural means? And we've got evidence that some of them did it certainly by behavioural means. The big sauropod dinosaurs probably were sufficiently large that they would have trouble cooling rather than heating, and because their volume was so large in relation to their surface area, they were probably quite capable of keeping their temperature fairly constant without having to worry about it physiologically. Other kinds of dinosaurs that had big sails or plates on their backs, it's been suggested, and probably quite rightly, that they may have used those as heating or cooling devices. So you could argue that they were perhaps cold-blooded. But when it comes to small meat-eating dinosaurs that were very active and had quite large brains and really quite sophisticated behaviourally, there we have to think a bit harder about whether they were warm-blooded or not. And birds evolved from small meat-eating dinosaurs, or they're warm-blooded. So somewhere along that long line of evolution, I think it's likely that dinosaurs became very close to being warm-blooded as birds are and we are today. And there's also a lot of evidence from the actual structure of their bones as to whether they were warm-blooded or cold-blooded. And the microscopic structure of dinosaur bone is quite variable, and some of it shows bone of the same type that we have and birds have, the warm-blooded animals have. But within the same bone of the same dinosaur, you can find the kind of bone cells that are present in cold-blooded animals. So what does that tell us? It really tells us that dinosaurs really perhaps had their own kind of physiology, and they weren't quite like any other animals alive today.